888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. I just love it when liberals outsmart themselves. You know, we've talked about the fact that this whole green energy thing is a scam. It's a total hoax. I don't know if you saw that Chevy Volt has dropped the price on their Volts $5,000. They can't give these things away. So nobody wants to buy these coal-powered cars. And solar is a complete bust. Germany's getting completely away from subsidies for solar because the cost of solar energy is 3 to 4 times what ordinary energy is. It's just not cost effective. The only way solar can stay afloat is heavy subsidies from taxpayers, and they're beginning to say, hey, we just can't afford it anymore. And solar just, and so I just love it when these trendy environmentalists, they pursue these policies that wind up biting them right in their own backside. Here's a story from CNSnews.com about a $3.5 million solar panel that was installed at the airport in Manchester, New Hampshire. Paid for with a federal grant. That means it's your money and it's my money. And right now it is covered up with tarps. So you got this $3.5 million solar panel installation, 2,200 solar panels, all installed at taxpayer expense. And what they didn't even think about was the kind of glare that was going to hit the control tower when they unveiled this thing. This glare is so bad that the air traffic controllers can't even see what's going on in the airport. So they had to put tarps over the whole thing. It's now become entirely useless. And the only thing they can do is to try to change the directions from facing south to facing east. Then they're not going to get any solar energy. So they have outsmarted themselves once again. 888-589-8840. Now, let's go to the sound bites. Clip 1. Rob, this is President Obama. We played a couple of sound bites the other night. President Obama had a number of just plain old gaffes in his speech. He talked about the fact that Jacksonville, Florida, Savannah, Savannah, Georgia, Charleston, South Carolina were on the Gulf Coast. He said they're on the Gulf Coast. AP writer, by the way, actually inserted words into Obama's comments to cover for that geographical gaffe. He was writing for a newspaper in one of those cities, and he actually changed what Obama said in order to cover his geographical gaffe. He talked about the Winter Olympics, about how problematic it was to have the Winter Olympics in Russia because of its stand on homosexuality. And we'll grab that one next, Rob. So let's drop down to clip 10 after this. But here's President Obama talking about our conflict with al-Qaeda, which, by the way, is supposed to be on the run. President Obama has been telling us for years they're decimated, their core is gone, nothing to see here, move along, we've broken their back. But they're not. I mean, they're out there getting us to shut down 22 embassies in all the Muslim countries around the world. And here is President Obama talking to Jay Leno. He hasn't had a press conference since April 20. The last time that President Obama has faced the press was the 20th of April. So we want to hear the president talk about what's going on with the threat to our nation's security. We got to tune in a late-night comedy show to find out what's going on. That is how badly he has diminished the office of the presidency. Here he is talking to Jay Leno, and listen to what he says. This is another one of those gaffes where he uses the word unfortunately at the end of this clip. Let's listen.
You know, terrorists depend on the idea that we're going to be terrorized, and we're going to live our lives, and the odds of people dying in a terrorist attack obviously are still a lot lower than in a car accident, unfortunately.
So he says the odds of getting killed by a Muslim attack much lower than dying in a car accident, and he says that's unfortunate. Did you catch that? He said that's unfortunate. It is unfortunate that more people die in car accidents than die from Muslim jihadist attacks. So apparently, you take it at face value, then he's expressing this desire that we'd get more Muslim attacks on American citizens because it's just not fair. We got too many people dying in cars compared to how many people are dying because they're getting blown up by Muslims. Now, clip number 10, he complains about Russia's stance on homosexuality. I did an interview this morning with Voice of Russia Radio on this whole issue of Russia's policy on homosexuality. And it's creating this real problem for the Olympics. A lot of people putting pressure on NBC to pull out. You had one gay actor, George Takei from, Star Trek. He's come out and said, "I ought to move him to Vancouver," just like they did in 2010. Vancouver can handle it. We got to boycott Russia like we should have boycotted Nazi Germany in 1936 and all that kind of stuff. So President Obama not very happy with Russia for its stance on homosexuality. And again, Russia has not made homosexual sex illegal. They've just said you can't propagandize it. You can't promote it in public. You can't have gay pride parades. It is illegal to propagandize teenagers in particular. We don't want them indoctrinated into homosexual lifestyle. You know, and part of the reason I've got to believe is Russia's got a massive population problem. Their demographics are declining by the day. They're losing. It's hard to believe, but their population is diminishing. 750,000 people a year they lose. 750,000 people less this year than there were last year at this time in Russia because they're getting older, because of the rampant abortion. The younger generation is not being produced. So they're killing themselves off. They're dying off. And the Russian officials are saying, whoa, we've gotten into this abortion thing. We've celebrated it. We've made it a form of birth control. Everybody can get as many as they want. And it's killing us as a nation. It is destroying our future. So they're suddenly waking up to what abortion does to a nation's population base, how it weakens it and destroys it, and they're trying to reverse it. Well, they know that conception is impossible in homosexuality, so they're trying to redirect the sexual energies of the Russian people into marriage and heterosexuality. But listen to what President Obama says about the kind of sports that happen in the Winter Olympics. Let's listen.
Well, something that shocked me about Russia, and I'm surprised this is not a huge story. Suddenly, homosexuality is against the law. I mean, this seems like Germany. Let's round up the Jews. Let's round up the gays. Let's round up the black. I mean, it starts with that. You round up people who you don't like. I mean, why is not more of the world outraged at this?
Well, I've been very clear that when it comes to universal rights, when it comes to people's basic freedoms, that whether you are discriminating on the basis of race, religion, gender, or sexual orientation, you are violating the basic morality that I think should transcend every country. And I have no patience for countries that try to treat gays or lesbians or transgender persons in ways that intimidate them or are harmful to them. Now, what's happening in Russia is not unique. When I traveled to Africa, there were some countries that are doing a lot of good things for their people, who we're working with and helping on development issues, but in some cases have persecuted gays and lesbians. And it makes for some uncomfortable press conferences sometimes. But one of the things that I think is very important for me to speak out on is making sure that people are treated fairly and justly, because that's what we stand for, and I believe that that's a precept that's not unique to America. That's something that should apply everywhere.
Do you think it will affect the Olympics?
I think Putin and Russia have a big stake in making sure the Olympics work, and I think they understand that for most of the countries that participate in the Olympics, we wouldn't tolerate gays and lesbians being treated differently. They're athletes. They're there to compete. And if Russia wants to uphold the Olympic spirit, then every judgment should be made on the track or in the swimming pool or on the balance beam, and people's sexual orientation shouldn't have anything to do with it.
So that's President Obama. Russia's going to host the Winter Olympics. The Winter Olympics, this is where people ski down hills and they ride bobsleds and stuff like that. But he's saying here that if Russia wants to uphold the Olympic spirit, then every judgment should be made on the track, the running track. Well, they don't have a track in the Winter Olympics. Should be made in the swimming pool. There are no Winter Olympic swimming events. Should be made on the balance beam. There are no balance beam sports in the Winter Olympics. And one other comment, he says it's against basic morality to discriminate based on sexual orientation. And you got to say, hey, wait a minute. This is from one of the people that always tell us you can't legislate morality. He's saying, well, you surely can. We can legislate morality, and by gosh, we're going to do it. We are going to legislate morality, and that morality, you can't discriminate on the basis of sexual orientation. And we don't believe in discriminating on the basis of sexual orientation either. We do believe on discriminating on the basis of sexual behavior. We do believe that we should, in fact, discriminate on the basis of sexual behavior. We do this every day. We discriminate against pedophilia. We discriminate against rape. We discriminate against prostitution. These are all forms of sexual behavior. We discriminate against them, and we should. Well, let's grab a call before the break. Let's go to Jordan in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Jordan, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mr. Fisher.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go right ahead. Got you loud and clear.
Great. I'm a medical student, and I've had the privilege to do an 8-week specialty rotation at a VA hospital, particularly in the mental health services, so dealing with soldiers who are recovering from things like depression, PTSD. And 2 of my weeks involved soldiers that suffered sexual assault in the military.
Uh-huh.
And in the program, I think the way you're representing things, for instance, that homosexual assaults are perpetuated by homosexuals. I know you had a caller on earlier, a female caller, who suggested that maybe these were assaults perpetuated by heterosexuals, either against heterosexuals or against homosexuals.
Yeah, with objects, let's say. Mm-hmm.
Sort of, or even not, even whether it's penetrative or not. I don't want to get into the gruesome details, but
right.
Sort of in the same line as an institutional rape culture, so like something you would see in prison.
Hey, Jordan, I am coming up against a hard break here. I want to let you finish your thought here. Can you hang on for about 2 minutes?
Sure can.
Okay, we'll get right back to you when we come out of this break, talking with Jordan, Grand Rapids, Michigan. By the way, don't forget, if you don't live in one of the cities that have one of our radio stations on our network, you can catch audio and video streaming at AFR, American Family Radio, AFR.net. Be right back.